Chances are, if you grew up in the early 2000s like me, you've seen this white brick. We all know what this thing is, or at least 101 million people should. It's the Nintendo Wii. Many people probably recognize it as their first console, or the kind of thing you always played with your friends. Well, this thing made a fair amount of my childhood. With the iconic Wii Remote and nunchuck setup and the plethora of good games to boot, this thing became known as the Fun Machine. Or the shovelware machine. Yes, I played this game. Even though it was just a slightly better GameCube power-wise, that mattered very little. Sure, the PlayStation and the Xbox were duking it out on who had the better specs. Wii was just happy to exist. When you bought a Wii game, you knew exactly what you were getting from the get-go. No missing content or paywalls. What you bought was the complete package. Xbox and PlayStation also had complete games, but often had DLC or frequent updates that would change things. The Wii could not do updates. It barely could connect to the internet. In fact, I didn't even know it could as a kid. I just thought that the people I was playing against on Mario Kart Online was CPUs. But this begs the question, what happened with Nintendo? It's almost like when they had these limitations, they pushed for the most quality they could fit in the system, really pushing the limits of what they could handle, most of the time. We went from having full games to games that will be finished in 6 months from update cycles, not to mention the price of them. But now they advertise that their games have free updates, which is a standard across all games just about. I was ecstatic to see a new Mario Strikers on the Switch, but after seeing the price, the reviews, and the content inside, I just thought, why didn't they just remake or port the old one? Time and time again, I see these things being made by Nintendo now where I'm like, well, you guys tried, but didn't, or that's way too expensive for what's being offered. Currently, the only Switch games I own made by Nintendo are the Mario 3D All-Stars, Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Bros., and Breath of the Wild. Which, the only game I'm actively holding out for on the Switch is Breath of the Wild 2. With the Wii, I had games mostly bought for me by my mom, and to be honest, she kinda nailed it. I just feel like Nintendo lost the quality they used to have for their old systems. Yes, they look better, but the gameplay usually never amounts to much else. Time and time again, they try to release sequels to games that either don't compare to the original or just aren't different enough to be interesting. So, to make myself feel better from the death of old Nintendo, I'm going to be talking about a few of my favorite Wii games from my childhood. Feel free to comment your favorites.
Yahoo! Come on! Oh yeah! Hey! Hey! Wow! Yeah!
Here I go!
Mario Kart!
Now, I know this game is a mixed bag of feelings for people. Some people love it or hate it. It mostly comes down to their preference between looks and controls. When I was a kid, I played with motion controls with the Wii Wheel. If a friend didn't have a Wii Wheel at their home, I brought mine. That's how much I felt like I needed it in order to win. But I have so many vivid memories of it. down to my favorite kart and character, favorite track, and my favorite music. It's an absolute kart-induced chaos. If there isn't a blue shell flying, there's people using mushrooms and people with clouds, people flying off into space, people trying to do shortcuts. It's all amazingly fun. I'd say this was probably the game I spent the most time on due to it being so replayable. Me and my sister would always play coin battle when we liked each other. Love you, sis. And my friends and I would try to unlock karts and characters with the time trials. So much fun for a simple game. I'm putting all the LEGO games here because I pretty much had all of them available for the system. LEGO Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean. Jeez, I've never realized how many of these there were. But each of them I played and loved. Indiana Jones was probably the least one I played, but LEGO Star Wars 3 was like my father to LEGO series. I remember very vividly running around the main ship HUD, typing in all the cheat codes in, and hitting True Jedi off of one stud. Seriously, I got one of the cheat codes just by messing around. I felt as if I had a galaxy brain moment. Plus, it was a blast seeing all my favorite movies in these silly cartoonish ways. And on top of that, I grew my love for imagination, because I'd buy big things of Legos and build whatever. I'm putting these two sports games together because they probably have the same amount of playtime. I still, to this day, adore Mario Strikers. The amount of character, the total difference in tone versus the other games, and the general chaotic fun it was. So naturally, my heart shattered when the newest one came out, and it was hot dog water. The only amount of character left in that game is the animations. The music of Strikers is constantly lodged in my head, especially Luigi's theme. Another thing I loved was my personal main, Waluigi. My lord, was Waluigi so freaking goofy in this, and his theme didn't fit him at all. But at the same time, that's what made him amazing. Mario Power Tennis was a close second in my favorite sports game. I hardly ever skip out on watching the opening cinematic. I remember the wacky fields and the fun special moves, and again, that amazing opening cinematic. Most of the Mario-style games were always fun, which ironically, I never had Mario Party on the Wii, but I heard that it was pretty good. I'm pretty sure everyone had these games, especially Wii Play. I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer. You got a free game with a controller. Everyone needed a new controller, so might as well get the game on top of that. Wii Play was just dumb minigame fun with things like fishing, pool, pong, duck hunt, and most importantly, tanks. Me and my friend would constantly try and beat all the levels in the tank minigame. I actually played it again not that long ago, and the game mode is still fun. I always get so far and get domed by some dumb ricochet shot or something. Overall, it's just a fun game to sit down with your friends and goof around. Now, I wouldn't say Wii Music was my realization that I wanted to play an instrument. I think that just came off of listening to my sister practice the piano, but I can't say that it didn't help, because it really did help me get into learning the basics of instruments. And even though it was kind of just flail your arm and whatnot, it kind of gave you the feeling that you were actually making music. And so, I enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm pretty sure everyone had a taste with Wii Sports, because I mean it was the pack-in game, and even if you didn't have it with your system, it was probably a guarantee that your friends had it or something. I mean, you got some pretty good high-quality sports in here. I mean, bowling alone was worth it, baseball was fun, and fighting Matt, and boxing. I will take it to my grave that I've beaten Matt when I was a kid, and that made me feel like a warrior. That goes up there alongside beating Ori to 100% completion. Don't at me on that. Well, I don't want to make this list too long, so I'll talk about one of my favorite games of all time. This right here was my favorite game of all time. Thanks, Ori, for ruining that. This was my first Mario game I played, and dang was I lucky. Everything about this game oozes personality and quality, from the visuals and the scenes, the movement, the levels, the music. Everything made you feel like you were on a grand adventure in space. I bought the 3D All-Stars when it released just for Galaxy, and was glad it was just as good as I remember it. I remember so vividly how much of a threat Bowser felt like with his boss fights and more intense tone. And oh my goodness, the level themes. From the beehives to the ghost, even the junk galaxy, every area just was beautiful. Even with the Switch controllers, I still swung my controller to do the spin move just because it felt so natural. This is the best Mario game in my opinion, and I know I'm not alone on that statement. It's the first Mario game to give a character fleshed out lore in a completely unique way of traversal in the hub world. My god, the Common Observatory. I remember flying around with the red star, sitting and reading Rosalina's tales, watching the Lumas go by, and developing my love for orchestral music. All in all, if there was any game I was glad I got to play in this era, it was definitely this one. I could go on and on about this game, but this isn't an in-depth review. This is just me rambling about games I like. Now, you might be like, hey Nico, what about this game, or this game? Well, I've either haven't played it, or have played it and just didn't mention it. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is missing from this list because I didn't play Smash Bros. Until Smash 4, so I didn't have a childhood moment with the series. At the end of the day, I guess I'm just sad with how Nintendo makes their games now. Their main series games such as Zelda, Metroid, and Mario are all good on Switch, but the other games that would normally be just as good as them lack serious effort or care. And I guess it's because we've grown away from play with friends on the couch and have a good time. Everything's online. And I guess it's because we've grown away from play with friends on a couch and have a good time. I personally miss being able to sit down with a buddy and just goof around a bit. I miss this stupid white slab, and I know others do too. Not just because of the games, but because of the memories.
But did you see Waluigi Pinball is back, baby?